Josh Heupel has turned around the Tennessee football program as they went from a laughingstock in the 2010s to now being one of the top teams in the SEC, and they are fighting for college football playoff spots each and every year now. The Volunteers, though, I think will have an interesting 2025 season, as they did lose a lot of talent from last year's team, but this will honestly be a good test to see how good of a coach Josh Heupel is, and it'll be interesting to watch. In today's video, I want to preview the 2025 Tennessee Volunteers football team, go through their roster, how they did last season, who they bring in, who they lose, and then make a game-by-game prediction for them. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's go ahead and get started and preview the 2025 Tennessee Volunteers. So going into last season, Tennessee started out the year ranked number 15 in the country, and they destroyed Chattanooga 69-3 in week 1. That was expected. In week 2, they played in one of the bigger non-conference games as they'd face off with a top 25 NC State team. Little did we know that NC State would be absolutely terrible, but Tennessee won this game 51-10, making everybody believe they were super duper good. After that, they went back home and beat Kent State 71-0, and Tennessee was on fire. They would then face off against number 15 Oklahoma as College Game Day went to Norman for this matchup, and the game was close, but the Volunteers pulled away, winning 25-15. They are now 4-0 and ranked number 4 in the country before traveling on the road to play against Arkansas. Some saw this as a trap game, but many thought they would escape pretty easily, and Arkansas's defense stifled Tennessee's offense as they won off of a late touchdown, 19-14, and the Volunteers got their first loss of the season. It was a setback, but they would bounce back. Their game against Florida was extremely entertaining as they ended up winning 23-17 in overtime, and they got back on track. They would then face off with a top 10 Alabama team as they would win the third Saturday in October matchup 24-17. The Vols were now legit and back. Following that, they'd beat Kentucky by 10 points and then beat Mississippi State 33-14. They are now ranked number 7 in the country and would face off with a top 15 Georgia team. Tennessee has just not been able to beat Georgia recently, as Game Day was once again here for this one, but they'd end up losing 31-17. With 2 losses, their college football playoff hopes were on life support, but after beating both UTEP and Vanderbilt to finish the season, they would have a fighting chance. Ultimately, they were selected to play against Ohio State in the first round, and Josh Heupel would get his first college football playoff appearance. Unfortunately, while Rocky Top invaded Columbus, Ohio, it did not go according to plan. They paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to see Tennessee lose 42-17, and the game was never quite close. It was extremely unfortunate, but Tennessee still had a good year, as they went 10-3 with a 6-2 record in the SEC. They had some really good players, as at quarterback, Nico Imalialiava ended up throwing for 2,600 yards with 19 touchdowns, and at the running back spot, Dylan Sampson became one of the best in the country, finishing with 1,500 yards and 22 touchdowns. The guy is one of the best running backs in school history, and then guys like Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, and Cameron Sheldon also ended up being decent in the backfield for them. In the receiving department, Dante Thornton Jr. led the way, as he had 661 yards and 6 touchdowns, and then they had a committee approach after that with Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, and Chris Brazzell II. They were not as explosive as they have been in recent years, but they were still good. On the defensive side of the ball, Arion Carter would lead the way with 68 total tackles, James Pierce Jr. would lead the way with 7.5 sacks, Jermon McCoy had 7 pass deflections, and both Will Brooks and Jermon McCoy had 4 interceptions apiece. Again, Tennessee was really solid, but they ended up losing a couple of big names to the NFL. The Volunteers would send 4 players off to the 2025 NFL Draft, as James Pierce Jr. would go in the first round to the Atlanta Falcons, Omar Norman Lott went in the second round to the Kansas City Chiefs, Dante Thornton went in the 4th round to the Las Vegas Raiders, and running back Dylan Sampson went in the 4th round to the Cleveland Browns. This was a good send-off for them, but they have a lot of talent they need to replace next year. The Vols' 2025 recruiting class ranked number 11 in the country and is headlined by 5-star offensive tackle David Sanders Jr. from Providence Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina. They also got guys like Isaiah Campbell and Marion Dye. The Vols did not do much in the transfer portal world, as they only ended up having 7 guys. They got Colton Hood, a corner from Colorado, Josh Shell, a defensive lineman from Grand Valley State, Joey Aguilar, a quarterback from UCLA, Sam Pendleton, an offensive lineman from Notre Dame, Star Thomas, a running back from Duke, Amari Jefferson, a wide receiver from Alabama, and Wendell Moe Jr., an offensive lineman from Arizona. Honestly, I think both Star Thomas and Joey Aguilar are pretty underrated and should have been more highly regarded, but that's just me. In terms of the quarterback spot, there was some interesting developments this past spring as Nico tried to get more money and he got booted off the team. He ended up transferring to UCLA, and Tennessee would end up getting their guy in Joey Aguilar, and he likely will start for them, but he has a couple of decent backups as 4-star recruit Jake Merklinger will be back, and then true freshman George McIntyre will also be on the roster. Honestly, I think Joey will take over for the season, but I would not be surprised if maybe Jake Merklinger is the future there. They have to replace arguably their best running back in school history in Dylan Sampson, and they have 3 good options. Peyton Lewis and Deshaun Bishop are both back from last year, and Star Thomas had a ton of all-purpose yards at Duke the last couple of seasons, so all 3 of those guys should get plenty of opportunities, but honestly, I think they should go all in on Star. Also, shout out to the Knoxville News for providing this depth chart, as I want to make sure the information is totally accurate, and I'll leave a link down in the comment section below to check out their site. But moving over to the wide receiver spot, they ended up losing Brew McCoy and Dante Thornton, who've been a big part of the offense the last couple of years, and they'll need some guys to step up pretty much immediately. Big-time sophomores Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley will be back, and then guys like Bama transfer Amari Jefferson, recruits Travis Smith and Joakim Dodson, and Radarius Jackson should also play, and Chris Brazil II should be the other main starter. Honestly, I think Tennessee should have gone after another receiver or two, as there are plenty of guys who would probably line up to play in that offense, but who knows. At the tight end spot, you'll have Miles Kitzelman, but he's coming off of an injury, and then you'll probably have Ethan Davis and Cole Harrison behind him. On the defensive side of the ball, Bryson Easton and Joshua Josephs are getting a ton of hype on the defensive line. Arion Carter, the leading tackler from last year's team, will be back, and then in the secondary, you'll have Jermon McCoy, who's a projected first-round pick at this point. There are also plenty of other players, but I'm not going to pretend to know a bunch of information about this. And either way, I do believe in Tennessee's defense. When you take a look at them overall, they'll probably be fine on defense, probably be fine at the running back spot, and quarterback will probably be okay too. The glaring weakness for me is the receiver room, as I have no idea why Tennessee was not more aggressive in the transfer portal, as they could have easily grabbed plenty of talented and experienced receivers, and it is a thin and inexperienced group, but there are plenty of guys with lots of potential, especially those 2 returning sophomores. In terms of how this affects their 2025 season, let's talk about their schedule now. In week 1, they will face off on a neutral site against Syracuse. Syracuse is one of the most interesting teams last year, as in their first year under head coach Fran Brown, they blew up and won a ton of games. Sadly, they lost their quarterback, their top 3 receivers, and their main running back, so they have a lot of holes to fill, and I don't think Syracuse will be as good as they were last year, but it should be an entertaining week 1 game. I think Tennessee has some things to work out too, so this game should honestly be close, but I think Tennessee will win. It's at the noon window, so it'll be one of the most interesting early games of this season. In week 2, they'll come back home and play against East Tennessee State, and this game will not be as close as week 1. Tennessee will dominate, and then they face off with Georgia. Honestly, this game is usually in October, so I'm not quite sure why it's so early this year, but I don't think Tennessee's going to be ready for it. But Georgia's obviously going to be pretty good this year, and I just don't think Tennessee's going to be quite there yet. Joey Aguilar came in late spring, and there's just too many question marks. It could be close because it's at home, but I think Georgia ultimately gets the better of them. After that, they will stay at home and play against UAB, and this game will not be particularly close. The Blazers have a cool story after their program got canceled about a decade ago, but they're not any good. Tennessee will be back to 3-1 before a road matchup with Mississippi State. Honestly, there's a little bit of trap game element to this matchup, but I don't have that much faith in Mississippi State. The game could be close into the second half, but I think the Volunteers finally break through here and win this game on the road and get some momentum going, 4-1. After that, they return back home to Neyland Stadium and will play against the Arkansas Razorbacks. I'm sure the Volunteers players have not forgotten about what happened last year, as they had that upset and a bunch of people gave them flack for it. I don't really have that much faith in Arkansas this year either, and I think Tennessee wins this one pretty easily, and all of a sudden they have really started to find their stride at 5-1. That wraps up the first half of the schedule, and that game against the Crimson Tide I think will be interesting. It'll really show how good Tennessee is, and if they've made adjustments since that Georgia game, but honestly, I think the Tide are going to win this one. Alabama has now lost to Tennessee twice in the last 3 years, and I just don't think it's going to happen again. It's at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and out of all Tennessee teams in recent memory to pick to win this game, I think it's the least talented, so I'm going to go ahead and say the Crimson Tide win. That will give them their second loss of the year before they travel on the road to Kentucky. The Wildcats are in rebuilding mode, as they got a new quarterback in FCS transfer Zach Calzada, and Coach Stoops is hoping to rebuild things and get them back on track. Typically, Kentucky is one of the most difficult teams to play in the SEC because of their style, but again, I don't think they're all that great this year, so I think Tennessee bounces back and wins that game close. When I make these preview videos, I cannot go all chalk, and a couple days ago I did my preview on the Oklahoma Sooners, and I actually have a lot of faith in them this year. It could completely come back to bite me, as they could be absolutely terrible, but I think that John Mateer is the real deal, and I think Oklahoma will be healthy, and they will bounce back, and Brent Venables is on the hot seat. Because of that, I actually have Oklahoma coming into Neyland Stadium and winning this game. I know a lot of Tennessee fans will disagree with it, but that's my pick. I don't have a lot of rationale for it, I just think Oklahoma will be better. That's all. After that, Tennessee will come back home and play against New Mexico State, and this is dang near an FCS game, but it's not, and they will win that game by a mile. Honestly, Tennessee will be on the outside looking in at the college football playoff, but I do think they will finish the year strong. They will travel to Gainesville to play against Florida, who's one of those super hyped up teams for 2025, as they finished last year strong and have a good young quarterback with a lot of potential. I think Florida will be good, but I don't think they're going to be that great, and I think Tennessee is good enough to win this game. That'll get them to their 8th win of the season before they come home and play against Vanderbilt. I think every Tennessee player has heard what Diego Pavia has said, and they probably have that on a bulletin board somewhere. I don't think Vanderbilt's very good either, and Pavia just added fuel to the fire. Tennessee wins this in-state game and gets them to their 9th win. To wrap things up, I have them losing to Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma, and then winning games against Florida, Arkansas, and Syracuse. Tennessee doesn't have the most difficult schedule in the world, but I think this was the perfect schedule for them. They're breaking in a new quarterback in a complex system, have a new group of receivers they have to figure out, a whole new set of running backs, also need some new pass rushers. I hope Tennessee fans are not too angry at this preview, as some I think will be angry at that Oklahoma pick, but that's where my thoughts are. They go 9-3 and have an outside shot at the college football playoff before being really good in 2026. But what do you guys think? If you're a Tennessee fan, what did I get right and wrong? How do you think the team will do this year? Who are some key players that I don't know about? And which team should I cover next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out one of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.